Okay, thank you everybody. Thanks everybody for coming. Welcome to PMG if you haven't been welcomed before. And thanks for coming to our general GenAI Meetup. We're gonna be talking a lot tonight about AI and the ways that we've implemented it here at PMG. We've got food, we've got snacks, we've got drinks. So if you haven't had any yet, take a second and make your way over there and grab some of that before we start. You're gonna hear two speakers tonight to talk about two different projects that we worked on here at PMG. There'll be about 30 minutes each. In between, we'll have just a very, very short break where you'll be able to get up and get any refreshments or take a break if you need anything like that. Afterwards, we'll have just a short discussion from our people in culture. We'll tell you a little bit about PMG because after all, while you're here, why not learn just a little bit about us? And we want to learn about you too. So we'll have some discussion time after both of the sessions where we'll all just be able to fellowship and meet together and get to know each other a little bit more. How's that sound? All right, excellent. Before we start, I'm gonna ask Vlad, who works here at PMG, to come up and say a few words. And he's gonna tell everybody here a little bit about PMG, about AI and how we're implementing it here. And then we'll start shortly after with our speakers. Excellent, Vlad?
Thank you, Evan. And thank you guys for coming. My name is Vlad, as Evan said, Vlad Pavlov. I joined the company about a year back as the senior director of AI and software engineering. And the story I keep telling everyone about me joining the company is the story which started before that, about 20 years back when I started working in the software industry. And I co-founded 3 startups. I worked with large companies. I was the director at Intel. After that, Microsoft headhunted me. I worked with mid-sized companies. I was VP engineering and CTO in a few mid-sized companies. I never worked in a company that served marketing industry. So when about a year back, I was going through the interviewing process with Chris and the team, and I was asking everyone, like, why would a marketing agency need someone like me? And what I learned during that interviewing process is we're actually a fake marketing agency. When they tell you that we are a digital company, don't trust them. We are a software company that pretends to be a marketing agency. So for our customers, we look like one. We have customers like Nike, Apple, McDonald's, all the brands that you hear basically every day. And we help them run their marketing campaigns. And we are one of the most expensive marketing agencies. We charge more than our competitors, and because of that, we can invest in our people, in offices like this. But the question is, why are we one of the most expensive? Why? Because we have a secret sauce. We have a technology. Underneath, we are a software company. And for several years, we've been developing a suite of tools called Alli. The tools that automate basically all the workflows that marketing people are going through in their everyday life. Because of that, our friends, our colleagues from our marketing departments, they're way more efficient than the marketing people working in other digital agencies. So at the time when I joined the company, we were about 500 people. About 100 of them were engineers. The company is growing super fast. Today, we already have about 900 people. Just yesterday, we announced the most recent acquisition in Europe, in UK. A week ago, there was another acquisition. The company is about 12 years old, never raised a single dollar of outside investment, was always profitable, was always very efficient. Again, because we have this secret sauce, the software that automates everything that we're doing. As I said, we are growing very fast. So we need to hire more engineers to make our software even more efficient, to help our marketing colleagues to be even more productive in their everyday work. Now, as you remember, about a year ago, in fact, almost exactly a year ago, there was an announcement of how did it label, like low-key preview, right? For this thing called ChatGPT. And then the entire world went crazy and realized that AI is coming to change our lives. And we realize it as well. We are software people working in the marketing industry. Marketing industry is going to be one of the most impacted by the AI. Software people, software jobs are going to be one of the most impacted by AI, and we are at the intersection. So either we adapt fast or we die. And of course, we don't want to die, right? My favorite example is the ice delivery industry. 170 years ago, there was this huge industry when people would harvest ice. They would go to mountains and get ice there, and they would transport it down, and they would ship it to the states where the climate was hot. And there were those huge warehouses called ice houses there, where it was possible to store ice for several months in hot climate. The industry was huge. Guess what was the percentage of the US population that worked in that ice delivery industry? How much? How many? 80? No, of course not 80. I mean, no, let's be realistic, not 80. 30%? Guys, come on. No. Okay. I wanted it to sound huge, but apparently you're going to be disappointed. No, only 2%. Only 2% of the US population. But think about it. It's actually a lot. It's a huge number. And then someone invented refrigerator and the entire industry died. Not only in the United States, because by the time when it died, it was huge international business. In Norway, they were creating artificial lakes. And then they were producing ice there and shipping it here to the United States. In New Zealand, they were manufacturing ice and shipping it here. And then everything is basically disappears. We don't want to be in the ice delivery industry. We want to be in refrigeration industry. So we are changing very fast. We are becoming AI first organization. We are teaching our people to use AI. We are integrating AI in all our products. And we are hiring people who want to use AI. We understand that there are not many experts in AI already, but we are looking for smart and of course, nice engineers. We are nice people. We want to work with other nice people who will help us with this journey. So basically, our main motivation is hiring. We are looking for smart and nice engineers. And we partnered with this wonderful organization called AI Camp that has a lot of meetups across the United States and abroad. And just yesterday, we had basically the same meetup with the same talks in Austin. Today, we do it in Dallas. We hope to continue to do it on a regular basis. And hopefully, we'll have more and more people coming. We want to contribute to the overall ecosystem, to help the ecosystem develop, even though we have our own pragmatic goal to hire more people, but we also want to be good kind of ecosystem citizens. With that in mind, thank you so much for coming. And I hope you enjoy the evening. And as Evan said, there is food, there are drinks. Feel free to grab whatever you want, whenever you want. And of course, the most interesting part, the presentations about the fantastic AI projects that we are doing here in PMG, which is, remember, we are a fake marketing agency. But the AI that we are doing is very, very real. And the software that we are doing is very, very real. So enjoy the presentations. And thank you once again. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you, Vlad. I've heard that ice story before, but it definitely makes me want to come into work early tomorrow whenever I hear it. Okay, we're going to jump right into the first talk. Abdullah's here. He's ready to go. So he's going to tell us a bit about a project he worked on for our data team called Ask Alli.
All right. Can you all hear me clearly? Awesome. I'll just share my screen real quick. I might mute this. All right, well, hello everyone. My name is Abdullah, and today I'm going to be talking about to y'all about how we've implemented large language models and AI, and how they are transforming the data analysis industry in general. Mainly focusing on PMG's Data Explorer and Ask Alli. Right. A little bit of background about myself. I graduated from RIT in Rochester, New York in 2021, and then joined PMG right after through their graduate leadership program, which is a good springboard onto the digital marketing field, since I knew nothing about marketing before joining PMG, and the new grad program helped in sort of assimilating me into the field and PMG in general. And then I joined the Alli Data pillar, and I'm going to tell you all about what our team does in a later slide. And recently, I was also awarded for championing AI by the projects I created recently. Ooh, I might have to move. All right, but let's not just talk business. I can tell you about some of my personal interests too. I do play a lot of video games, a little bit too much Overwatch, to be honest, but I do justify it by saying it does build team building skills. So it's been helping with that. I also do sew or create clothing for fun. That's been a side thing that I enjoy. And recently I started powerlifting too. Still learning techniques, so I can't lift heavy yet, but that's something that I'm working on. All right, now you learned about me, but I'd like to learn about y'all as well. So if you don't mind, by a raise of hand, who here has already integrated large language models or AI in any fashion in their applications? Few people. Can't count you. Who here would be interested in integrating large language models and AI in their projects in the future? Few more people. All right, awesome. Those concepts are a core of what we do here at PMG and how we build Alli as well. That's something that we're going to continue working on as well. You heard a little bit about what we do as a company, so I'm not going to go over that. But what that means for me is that we get to work with cool clients like Nike, for example. We help them innovate, and we innovate as a company alongside them too. The teams that work on Alli are divided into several pillars. There's the Alli Data team, which I'm a part of. And then we do have Alli Actions, Alli Insights, and then our core platform team. Then we do have Alli Solutions, which is focused on custom solutions or sort of out-of-the-box solutions that are not necessarily like within Alli or custom solutions that our clients need to. Right. Our data specifically, what does it do as a team? We're responsible for extracting, loading, and blending big data. When I talk big data or say big data, I mean data from all of these vendors and potentially more as well. We do gather data from all of these vendors, and sorting through or getting insights from them can be difficult. Without Alli or without what we do, this could be a very manual process. So we're going from required technical skills like SQL, for example, or potentially manual work into automated processes. And that's where generative AI currently enters. So we're going to be talking about the project that I worked on. I mentioned earlier is Ask Alli. I worked on it earlier this year, and it does incorporate generative AI to get users answers or to get them closer to the data and sort of abstracting a lot of the either technical know-how or manual work required to get there. Yeah, so the goal is to get people close to their data. And the insights that they need oftentimes are or do require a lot of friction or include friction and do require or include or need speed as far as like how marketing works. It does require a lot of speed and accuracy in general. And that's what we're trying to do with Ask Alli. Now, we created Alli and Data Explorer as a business intelligence tool, and we're starting to move it towards a direction of like augmented analytics. And what does that mean exactly? Has anyone heard of the term augmented analytics before? No, augmented analytics is a simple description of it would be just utilizing AI and analytics in general. So that means that augmented analytics can help with things like data preparation, generating insights, or potentially even explain what those insights mean to the users, augmenting the way we all explore data into our analytics and business platforms or business intelligence platforms. It is sort of a shift from the old school way of thinking of utilizing SQL or other querying languages to going towards a convenient drag and drop that is implemented in business platforms currently, and more focused on going towards a AI-powered approach instead. Sort of going from natural language processing to generating insights and results. So I'm going to be talking about how we began integrating these business intelligence concepts and how that evolved into Ask Alli and becoming a augmented analytics tool. And what the potential future looks like for us as well, with the current advancements that are going on in the AI industry in general. I'm also happy to learn from y'all too, so happy to discuss or learn if you know of ways that we can do things better too. I'm happy to talk after this presentation. Right, so our journey started with understanding and trying to solve customer pain points. We do recognize the challenges that are faced by our users and non-technical users specifically in navigating sort of conflict workflows to get to the answers that they need in marketing, sort of navigating millions of data points more accessible through our platform. These solutions are mainly tailored to simplifying data exploration and visualization, allowing users to create intuitive and impactful reports with minimal reliance on technical know-how in general, or having extensive SQL knowledge, as I said earlier, to make data more accessible. And that could be also something that reflects on client representatives as well, or client strategists that utilize these insights in presentations or reporting to their clients. All right, so the initial version was a user-driven report builder, featuring sort of enhanced data integrations and simple visualizations or reports. It also offers a standardized suite of data or tables that are adaptable across our clients and could help us easily onboard more clients too. As we look into the future, our strategy is to potentially further enhance the speed of decision-making that marketers make and extend the reach of our data integration logs too. All right, I can talk specifically about what Ask Alli works and how, or what Ask Alli is and how it works. It is our way of utilizing large language models as a mediator between people and data, and the data that we have from our advertising platform integrations. And in the future, potentially provide like analysis or deeper insights to not just how campaigns are performing, but also why they are performing that way. Ask Alli works in 4 simple steps. So it starts with the user asking a question like, how are my ads performing on TikTok? Or what ads appeal most to New Yorkers, as an example. And then marketing does have a lot of acronyms and jargon, and we add that context to our query. So we try to clarify that to the AI before we send that query to it, where it interprets all of that context and generates a JSON query that we then validate and potentially execute. While AI has gone a long way, we still have some ways to go to, so we have to implement our own validation before executing that query. And I can show y'all a video of how it all comes together. This is one of the simple use cases that we have. A user can ask something like, show me performance by channel. You can specify something like a platform you want to say, see Facebook ads or Google ads. You can specify a time period as well. And then we show the intuitive reports that I mentioned earlier with a visualization and then a data table that's not going to be showing in this video. But this can be things like, oh, show me my performance month over month for the past year and such. It wasn't all smooth sailing, so I can talk about the implementation, some of the challenges that we have, and solutions or potential solutions that could be implemented in the future. We still have some problems that we're trying to resolve too, so we're working on that. So as far as the behind the scenes things for how Ask Alli works, we do have an integration with OpenAI currently as our large language model. We integrate with GPT-4, but we're also assessing other potential models too. What GPT-4 does for us right now is take care of the JSON query generation that we execute to fetch the data. We also integrate with Cube.js, which has been helpful in sort of being a translation layer between the UI and the database. It can go from JSON to SQL and allow us to execute those queries or directly execute queries through Cube.js. So it also has helpful caching capabilities that we utilize, and it allows us to easily integrate with more databases if we wanted. We currently integrate with Snowflake, Redshift, BigQuery, and that sort of abstraction allows that or makes it easier. We do follow a model agnostic approach. So while we're integrated with OpenAI currently, we're considering other models. And I can go deeper into what being model agnostic means. We utilize something called a strategy pattern. Has anyone heard of what that means or heard of the strategy pattern before? One person, cool. That means I can explain it. Someone in the past presentation also argued that it's an adapter pattern. So I'll let y'all do your own research too, and maybe report back to me if it is a strategy pattern or an adapter pattern, and we can have that discussion then. But what benefits the strategy pattern gives us is the flexibility and large language model integration. As the field of AI in general evolves and new large language models emerge, the strategy pattern sort of allows us to integrate new models without overhauling the whole system or the whole app just to integrate with a different model. So we just need to add a new strategy, and that could be the function call that utilizes the new model as an example. It also makes code management efficient. We can separate the concerns by separating the different model integrations and then work on that and avoid like duplication or avoid messier code in that way. And then as far as like scalability and accessibility, as I said, AI is evolving really quick. We hear about new models all the time, and we want to be able to evolve with the industry as well. So how's that actually implemented? So we at first define a base strategy. This is an abstraction layer of what each LLM can do. And currently, or my understanding of what large language models do in general is that you want them to generate text. In the code, I do use generate answer, but it's the same concept. It is sort of like a contract that ensuring that all of our strategies or all of the integrations that we have do that, generating text, whether it's OpenAI, Claude, or any other large language model, really. And then we do have the concrete strategies, which could be the integrations with OpenAI or Claude, Claude Instant, or the base model too. And that's where you define that. It has the sort of its own base class that implements the unique functionalities that each model offers. That's where the specific behaviors are encapsulated for each large language model, making the integration both specific but consistent across the models too. And in the end, you have the contextual strategy usage. That's where we utilize the strategies based on like our requirements or based on what the app needs in general, which is where we're allowed to do sort of dynamic switching and then choose which model we want to execute what task. And that's where the power of implementing the strategy pattern comes, is like versatility in real time too. Right, as far as the challenges and potential solutions to them that we've experienced, and maybe y'all are experiencing, there are three main ones that come to mind: alignment and formatting, wait times, and then testing and prompt changes. Has anyone heard or know what the term alignment means in terms of like large language models? Evan, can you tell us what alignment means?
Yeah, I think so anyway. When you ask a question that you get the answer that you would expect to get from the AI.
Exactly. So how aligned your instructions are to the answers that you get from the model. As far as like our solution to that, thankfully OpenAI does provide function calling capabilities. You can use things like enums, for example, to limit the options that the model can choose from, and therefore reducing hallucination and also limiting the potential for error. Other than that, you can do things like add a feature that allows the AI to ask clarifying questions for users for any ambiguous prompts. So it can be a back and forth conversation so that you know what the intent is. Otherwise, you can do something as simple as implementing a thumbs up or a thumbs down to get context or feedback from the users, and then use that to potentially train the model. All right. Wait times. On average for Ask Alli currently, it takes around like 49 seconds to get from query generation to the data that the user is looking for. That can be a very long time if you're just looking at a loading screen. So what we've been doing is sort of provide feedback to the users so that they are aware of what step we are currently on or how many steps are left for them to get to the data that they want. Also, another thing that we're experimenting with is streaming. OpenAI does allow streaming responses, so we're experimenting to see if showing users like real-time text generation could help us in sort of the perception of how long a query takes, rather than you just looking at a loading screen. Another challenge that we're currently experiencing is testing prompt changes. Currently, I have not found a way to automate testing prompt changes without increasing the cost, because each API call is going to be costing us. And same if we implement unit testing that actually make calls to the model, and therefore we incur more costs as well. So that's something that we're working on, considering how we can resolve. And it does highlight sort of the need for a more scalable or automated testing solution for us to minimize API calls and potential costs too. All right, the future, how does it look like for Ask Alli? We do want to eventually implement multi-step flows that involve the user asking potentially one question and requires multiple steps. So for example, a user might ask, when are my Nike campaigns like stopping spending? Or when are my Nike campaigns stopping spending? With AI or Ask Alli, what it would do in this case is generate a query that would fetch the spend for Nike campaigns as an example. Then it would execute a command that would create an alert based on the result of said query. And this can be sent to like your email or Slack, for example. This problem can be solved using agents or agent frameworks such as LangChain. LangChain is the only one I've experimented with so far, but I know others exist too. And you're going to hear more about LangChain and an example usage of it in the second talk too. Other future plans that we have, we're constantly trying to assess the models that we utilize. OpenAI has been good for the first iteration of the project or to create the project, but we're also constantly trying to find what other models we could use, what models might give us better results, or what models can reduce costs for us in the future. That's something that we're trying to do currently. And then potentially in the future, sort of do industry-wide comparison through web search. That's another thing that an agent could do. I don't know how that works exactly or how it would look like, but you can ask the agent to search the web for results, return that, and for example, compare it to results that you currently have or your own data. And then another thing that I'm personally curious about is forecasting. I also don't know how that would look like or the implementation of it yet. So it is something that I believe would be useful for us on the platform. Right. When I gave my talk yesterday, someone suggested a book called The Book of Why. It studies the cause and effect from like a scientific basis, and it's said to be sort of an exploration of human thought and artificial intelligence, and an important resource to be able to understand both. So I'm going to leave y'all with that as a recommendation. Other than that, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and check out the alli.pmg.com website. And I'm happy to take any questions that y'all have about what I just presented. Any questions? Yes.
It's not so technical, but I was just wondering, excuse me, Do you have any like competitors? And if you do, what makes you different from them?
That's a good question. And I don't think I'm personally equipped to answer it. So if anyone would like to provide an answer to that as far as like competitors.
I can try a little bit. As far as Alli as a platform itself, I don't think we have any major competitors who can do everything that all three pillars do themselves, right? And they all work interconnectedly, which actually makes that kind of even more of a benefit. But the individual pillars, there are some who do, right? One of our main competitors, I actually work with Abdullah on the data pillar, and one of the big ones is Datorama. And the thing that we absolutely bring to the table that we've heard time and time again from our customers is the differentiator is the fact that one, we're able to get data at the most granular level and then kind of aggregate that up to be used at the higher levels, right? It's very, very deep marketing speak, but you can think of an individual ad or even the individual creative, the picture, the text that's in an ad as that smallest level. So how is that text resonating with users? What is the metrics behind that? And we can take that information at that level to get all the different ads, figure out which ones are performing the most. And then with the other pillars that we have, the actions, the insights pillars, we can do automated actions based on that. So one specific creative is working very, very well. Let's spend more money behind that campaign so that it's seen by more eyes, it's more visible, and it's able to increase our return on ad spend at a high level. A lot of late nights, let me tell you. To be fair, like Vlad said, a lot of it is the technology. We really are. I used to give a presentation at the beginning of everybody's onboarding here that had Thanos with his infinity gauntlet, right? And the Alli pillars as the different jewels in there, right? Which are great, but you know, it's really Thanos, or I think it was even Iron Man, spoiler alert, that was wearing the gauntlet at that time. So it's really the combination of both, right? The technology is great, but it's really Tony Stark and all the people that are in this office that don't make the technology that make it work. And that's from the individual marketers themselves to our leadership that goes in and is in those rooms and giving those pitches and pulling in the right people at the right time. They've gotten very good at it. And one of the things that I think we do best when we're in that room is that it is us here, me, Chris, Vlad. We're the ones who actually build the tools and who work on them and who are in the room talking to those VPs and those marketers to let them know like, hey, this is real. This isn't smoke and mirrors. You can actually do this, in fact, and I can show you how. So.
Any other questions? Yes. Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing, so yeah, thank you.
I was just asking that on the portal you had a question and answer where you asked a question and it gave you a response about the different graphs that you draw, like how many campaigns you had in a month, right? Something like that. So my question was, did you have that use case before ChatGPT came in? And in case if you had that, how did you build it during those times versus after GPT came, when you built it, what was the difference in that? Like what was the migration or?
Right. If I understand correctly, how did we used to do, or how did we get these results before without GPT? Yeah, so previously marketers would have to either utilize SQL or, well, in this case, we do have Data Explorer that is a drag and drop functionality. So you can choose the different mentions and measures and dimensions, and then select the date, for example. This changes it to natural language processing. So first it was SQL and having to use querying languages to get the same results. Then it was the drag and drop functionality that you have to manually choose the dimensions and metrics that you want that would answer your question, as well as the date and potentially add filters too. And then now you can just ask the app to give you all of that or to answer the question. And that's where we are right now. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and a follow-up on that is, which means that you would give your data to ChatGPT for them to do this thing and give you the results back?
Oh, gotcha. So the thing we do is not provide any data to the AI. What we do is provide the table schema so that it knows what query it should formulate. We don't feed it any client or platform data currently, just the table schema. Yep.
Sorry, I don't mean to dominate the conversation, but I had a question as well. Is this available D2C or is this all business to business?
Is this available? I'm not familiar with
Like can a
acronym.
consumer just use Ask Alli for their small business or e-commerce site?
I can take this one,
Okay.
Abdullah.
Go ahead.
It's not currently. We do offer it as a SaaS, but it is closed, so not direct to consumer. You can't go to alli.com and purchase a license or anything like that yet. But we are on the path there. Like Vlad kind of mentioned, this was mostly an internal tool 2 years ago. We didn't have even any SaaS offering at all. And we just saw the power as it grew and then started offering it that way. So currently we do have some SaaS customers that utilize this tool and get the benefits out of it as well, but it's on a smaller scale at this time.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I do have 4 minutes left in my time. So if there are any other questions, y'all are welcome.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Awesome.
Well, thanks, Abdullah.
Well, thanks, y'all.
All right. We're going to have just a very short break while Jerry comes up and sets up for his presentation. And then we'll 2 minutes. If you need a drink or a quick bite, feel free, but we'll be starting very, very shortly. Okay, thank you, everybody. All right, we're going to start here shortly. And I'm just going to give a short introduction. But before we do that, I realized, everybody's here who probably doesn't know who we are. So just to kind of better answer any questions you might have in the future, if everybody who is with PMG could just put your hands up and let everybody else know who you are. So if y'all have questions about PMG or about Alli, feel free to reach out to any of these folks. All right, with that done, Jerry is going to talk to us about a project we've got going on right now that's quite interesting. So take it away, Jerry.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. All right. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Thank you for spending time with us today. We're going to talk about the future of marketing, GenAI-driven automation for ad trafficking. My name is Jerry. I've been coding since I was 14. I came from a hacking background. I'm a technical lead and engineering manager here at PMG. I call myself a professional problem solver. Let me move this a bit. There we go. Right, I'm spearheading PMG's AI efforts. And yeah, let's dive into it. Who knows what ad trafficking is? Raise your hand. All right, one person. I better explain that. Right, so what is ad trafficking? Ad trafficking is a mix of strategy, timing, and figuring out the demographics. It all starts with creating the ads, right? You create an ad, and then you want to place the ad, right? You got to figure out what's your target audience. Let's say you want to advertise a sneaker. Obviously, your target audience will more likely be like a teenager, right? Whereas if you want to advertise a car, your target audience will be adults. Then you have to think about placement. Where do you want to put your ad? You want to put it on YouTube, you want to put it on your mobile phone, you want to put it on the desktop. Then you have to think about scheduling, right? You don't want to get up at 12 a.m. on Black Friday just to place your ad, right? So you got to figure out what's the best time to actually schedule my stuff. And then you have to monitor and tweak it, right? So let's say we put like $1,000 on an ad and it's not performing at all, right? Then you might want to pause the ad or you might want to increase the spend. I do not recommend that. And the last part is reporting, right? You want to report. You want to tell the client, hey, this is what we spend. This is what came out of it, right? But this is your return on investment. So it's a very complex domain. This is an example ad on Instagram from Nike. This is the current process. We have 5 data points that go into each ad. We have budgets, the audience targeting, the testing strategy, ad copy generation, and media, right? Images, whatsoever. It's a very disconnected and tedious process at the moment. We have, I think that's 8 inputs, so 8 different sources of truth where we get all the data from. We have 10 different vendors that we're supporting. And we have 5 different QA processes. Obviously, this is not really great, right? So a marketer usually spends around 21% of their time just advertising, doing ad trafficking. 5% go into monitoring, 6% go into QA, and 10% actual trafficking, which boils down to around 34 hours a month. And there's not only one marketer working on this, right? It's a whole company. So it's a lot of time that you're going to invest. If we add reporting to that, it's going to be around 50 hours a month. So there's an obvious need to improve this. How are we going to solve this? Since, bless you, since it's a very tedious and complex process. In the beginning of the year, LLMs came to life, right? Everybody was like, all right, let's start with LLMs. And then Chris Alvarez had an idea of actually automating ad trafficking with LLMs, right? LLMs promise to solve very complex business domains. So we started diving in there. And we started with prompt engineering. It's the first step, right? You start, okay, hey, create an ad, blah, 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 right? And generate these. So this is an example prompt here. There's a bigger version. I think you guys can see it. I'm not going to explain the whole thing, right? But we do reference a CSV file in here. We have an example in there. We have a goal. We have all kinds of different things in there. And I'll go more in depth here later on. So we use prompt architecting. Who has heard of prompt architecting? You raise your hand. No one. Wow. All right. One person. All right. So that huge prompt that we see, right? That's comprised of a lot of different things. So we have instructions, roles, goals, restrictions, input explanations, outputs, examples, right? And what we did, we had multiple CSV files. We just had like hundreds of rows in there that we manually typed. Our product managers went in there and they typed instructions, goals, roles, you name it. And we wanted to figure out, is the LLM able to make different choices based on this? So we went in there and created 16 million prompt permutations. 16 million. That's a huge number, right? If you want to run all of these, it's super costly. It was an 80 gigabit file. We were like, oh my God, how are we going to run this? So we cut it down to 6K. How do we do it? Random. We were like, 16 million, what are we going to do? How are we going to filter this? Yeah, so we just went with a random approach. We ran these against GPT-4, and each execution cost us around 20 cents, but that comes later. So 100 prompts gave us 100% result. What do I mean by 100% result? How did we validate this? So it was a very binary result, right? We had a JSON that we expected that comes out of there. So we said, target men age 35 to 40, right? So the LLM had to make a choice of targeting actually men, right? In the JSON output, you'll see that later. There you can see that it actually made the choice to target men. So we validated that with the Levenstein distance calculation. It's basically string comparison, a bit fancier, it calculates the distance, but nevertheless, we got 100 prompts with 100% success rate on 3 different runs. How did we automate this? We started looking into different tools. Are we going to do it manually? Are we going to just like run this in ChatGPT in the interface? Obviously not. And yeah, we landed on LangChain. Why LangChain? It's a venture-backed company. It's an open source library. It's easy to use. It has document loaders. I mentioned the CSV file before, right? So it was a big step for us to actually be able to ingest these CSV files in an easy way. And it supported multi-step actions, right? Chain of thought, things like these. You can see a LangChain execution. It actually came up with, okay, I need to do these and these steps, right? This from the examples, it figured out, okay, I'm going to do these things. And then it figured out it has to actually read the CSV file that we referenced in the prompt. And it read that CSV file in, And surprise, surprise, 100% match. We were like, yeah, okay, our POC is proven now. We've proven the LLM can make the choices we need. Manual labor. Obviously, I told you guys, there was a lot of manual labor that went into these CSV files, right? We had to write all these instructions, restrictions, roles, goals, and we did that manually. And obviously also the JSON schema to validate it. Problems with our approach. It required extensive manual labor. We had limited vendor support. We only supported one vendor because if we want to support all 10 vendors, we would have to go in there and write a lot of different validation schemas and so on. Limited API version support. If the API changes, they release a new version with, I don't know, a new field or whatever, we would have to go in there and change everything again. And it costs 20 cents. It's just crazy. If we think about it, I think we do like 1 million a year or something, 1 million of these executions. If we would do that, and 20 cents, there would be $200,000 we spend on this. It was not feasible. So it has to scale, right? Everything has to scale. How did we make it scale? Does everybody know what RAG is? Raise your hand if you know what RAG is. Okay, raise your hand if you know what fine-tuning is. All right, so what do you think is the right approach here? RAG or fine-tuning? Raise your hand if you think RAG is the right approach. Raise your hand if you think fine-tuning is the right approach. All right, a lot of people don't know. The winner is RAG. Why RAG? Why not fine-tuning? Fine-tuning is expensive, right? Every time training that model, it's huge models, right? And if you have to train them, it costs a lot of money, a lot of GPU resources. RAG, though, supports dynamic content, right? We can feed it as much content as we want. We can put, I don't know, millions of rows in there, and we'll be able to figure it out. We would support multiple API versions, right? So we wouldn't have to train a model every time a vendor API version changes. We had 10 vendors, they each change their API, I think every 3 months. Google sunsets, I think, every 3 months. So yeah, we went with RAG because it supported dynamic content as much as we wanted. There's an explanation of RAG for people that don't know. You're laughing, yeah, all right. So on the bottom left, you can see there's raw data that we ingest. Then there's information extraction from that raw data. Then we chunk that raw data. We embed that raw data. We save it into our vector-based database. Then we take the query from the user. We embed that query. We search our vector database. We feed the results to our LLM. Gives us the response. We use the chunk size of 4,000. I would not recommend. The usual recommendation is 300. And we use an overlap of 50. Why do we use an overlap? To retain context. We use the character text splitter with a sentence transformer. So we needed to find a new approach. Our normal prompting didn't work anymore, right? We need to find a new approach to do all these things and do it on a scale. So we opted for crawling vendor documentation, filter and clean the docs, then obviously chunking the stuff, creating the embeddings on it, storing them as vectors, retrieving them from a storage, generating code to actually make API calls, and then executing the code. Is there one model that can do all of this? At the moment, I don't think so. Mixtro released last weekend, last Friday, I believe. What is it called? Mixtro, they call it, a mixture of experts. Supposedly a model that can do all kinds of things. At the moment, I don't think it's there, but maybe at some point. So we went into model evaluation. How do you evaluate a model, right? There are different benchmarks that you can use for that. We needed a model with advanced reasoning capabilities to make the choices needed, right? So the benchmark for that is called MMLU, or the leading benchmark. Then we needed a good model for code generation, and that's human eval. Then we used accuracy. Superglue is the benchmark there. And efficiency, also superglue. And then we also needed to look at low cost and availability. Low cost, obviously, I mentioned the 20 cents. That was not feasible to run on like huge scale. And availability, what we did, we just looked at API uptimes and seen, okay, this is available, this is not. This was available like 99% of the time. Okay, that's good enough. We chose proprietary model Claude for the advanced reasoning. It has an MMLU score of 78.5 with lower cost than GPT-4. And then actually gave us way better results than GPT-4. Although the MMLU score is lower, it gave us better results, even with a zero-shot prompt. Who knows what a zero-shot prompt is and what a few-shot prompt is? Raise your hand if you know what a few-shot prompt is. Okay, so zero-shot prompt, few-shot prompt. A zero-shot prompt, just imagine you're teaching your friend a game, and you're just saying, okay, let's play, without telling him what the game is about, what are the rules whatsoever. That would be a zero-shot prompt. If you teach your friend, though, and explain the game, that would be a few-shot prompt, right? You tell them, hey, this is how it works, these are strategies, so on. So that would be a few-shot prompt. And large language models work way better if you do few-shot prompts. Give it examples to learn from it. Open source models. We use DeepSeek Coder, the 33 billion parameter model. Gives us really good results on code generation. We used OpenChat 3.5 for actually extracting the documentation. And we used, and the embedding models have weird names. So all MQNet base version 2, that's a proven to work model. It works fairly well for embeddings. And there's a new model that's leading the MTEB benchmark, UAE large version 1. I tried it out, it worked, but since it's not proven and there's not a lot of documentation around it, I was like, nah, let's not use it. Let's use the other one. And then where do we go from here? So we want to do reinforcement learning with human feedback. And I'll show you a demo. Just a UI. On Facebook, I want to create a new ad set for my loyalty promo, blah, 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 targeting women, 18 to 55, generates these things, and it tells it, oh, you have 3 missing fields, right? The LLM couldn't generate these, couldn't figure it out. So now the user goes in and fills out these fields. We're going to save all of this information and link it to the prompt, just in a Postgres database for now. We're just going to gather this information, and at some point, we're going to train a model on that. For now, this is the way we're going to gather the data. Challenges and solutions. Context length. You've seen this huge prompt, right? It had all these different parts to it. So context length was a problem for us. We got lucky with Claude when they released their 100K context window model. And now they even have a 200K context model. Other solutions for that would be MGPT. That's a fairly new library developed by 2 Berkeley researchers. But it's very early stages, it has a lot of bugs and so on. So at the moment, this is not feasible. So we just opted for the large context model. Hallucinations, how do you deal with that, right? Let's say we have an ad and it says, let's put 1 million on there, right? That's not good. So for that, you could use knowledge graphs, it retains context fairly well, and is proven to reduce hallucinations. But in any case, we have a QA step, right? The marketer always goes in, fills out these things that are missing, or changes things that are wrong. Crawling dynamic documentation, that was a challenge. Facebook, for example, they don't have IDs, they don't have classes. It's like DX7 and changes with every call. And Facebook is obviously not the only one. We have 10 different vendors, so we need to find a generic way. We use Playwright and an LLM, the OpenChat 3.5, to actually extract content from the documentation. Validation. How do we validate all of this? Well, obviously there are different algorithms. I mentioned the Levenshtein distance calculation. That was an obvious one because it's a very binary result that we get. If we want to validate more complicated things, we will have to start building a bigger database of data, right? We're going to do that with synthetic data. Trust. How is the user ever going to trust what the LLM does there? That's what the QA step is for, right? Q&A. Any questions? Please.
So, were you training some models here, or deploying some models you found, and like, I don't know, Hugging Face or what?
Yeah, deploying models, right? OpenChat. Yeah, it's the speakers. I know, man. I'm sorry. I think it's me though. It's not you. Right, deploying on SageMaker actually. OpenChat, DeepSeek Coder. We haven't done that thus far. At the moment, we're just running this locally, right? This was just a demo. This is still a work in progress, as Evan announced before. The prompt architecting and all of this is a proven concept. We did that. the deployment of models and so on, we have not done this far. At the moment, it's just running locally. We're testing it out. It's a proof of concept. Yeah. But yeah, SageMaker would be the option for that because we use AWS everywhere. Any other questions? No questions? Really?
Which part of the ad trafficking is actually where you're going to get the biggest savings? I mean, there's,
Which part of the
well, I mean, you listed 7 different components to the ad trafficking process. So
yeah.
you're focused on the first part, but what about all the other subsequent parts that need to happen?
They will come afterwards, right? But we're focusing obviously on the first part to automate that, and then all the other parts come. Like you're referencing reporting and all the other things, or let's go back to the slide because people don't know what ad trafficking is. Ad creation.
We'll just go back to your call. Like ad trafficking, what are all of the 7-page map networks, the highest level?
I'm not equipped to answer that, but probably Emily or Chris or Evan might be able to answer that. Where's the highest cost here? He's saying there's cost everywhere.
Definitely the inputs into the systems, right? Like the going from talking to the client to actually inputting the numbers in the actual systems like Facebook or Google, that process, and then queuing that process definitely takes quite a bit of time.
Any other questions? I planned like 10 minutes for this. Yesterday was, I think, 15 minutes. All right. All right. Let's go further. Conclusion. Get ahead of the curve. Start coding, right? Just start doing it. There are immense resources online. There are documentations everywhere. There's a crazy amount of books. I mean, nobody is an expert as of yet, I believe. We're all still learning this. We're still getting there. Just start doing it. Start innovating. Use LangChain, use Llama Index, use AutoGen, whatever you want to use. It's super easy to set up. You can just run it locally. In my appendix, I actually have a bunch of resources that you can look at, and I'll share these slides afterwards. Please, can we get a microphone over there?
I'll just talk really loud.
All right.
How dependent are the prompts, the prompt engineering or architecturing that you're doing? How dependent is that to a specific model, right? So if
That's a good question.
if they come out with 4.5, how much of that translates, or how much does it translate to another LLM?
Right. So model versioning, I don't think there's a big difference. There's a big difference between the models though, right? For example, on Claude, you use like XML tags to separate things, whereas on ChatGPT or GPT-4, you can just like put user system with a colon, you're good, right? So each model has their own kind of structure to it, but each of these models has a very good documentation, right? So you can really look that up. You can even generate it. Ingest the documentation, generate the prompts. There you go. All right. I'll end this talk with showing the limitations of LLMs. Since it's a very new field, it's still very new for everybody. The technology is very new. Let's look at it. What's the difference between an LLM and a cappuccino? Neither has any original thoughts. What's the difference between an LLM and a wet noodle? The wet noodle can still inspire creativity. So you can see there's still limitations, especially generating jokes. This is brought to you by GPT-4. And I think I generated that yesterday or the day before. So still there. Yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time. Come back.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. No, I don't need it. I've got one. All right, that's the end of our speakers, everybody, but we're gonna take just a short moment for our people and culture team to come up and say just a short word, a little bit more about PMG, and then we're gonna get to my favorite part, the networking, the shaking of hands, and the getting to know each other. So right now, we'll just welcome up Zuri to talk to us here.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully you're having a great night. Thank you for joining us tonight. Like Evan said, my name is Zuri. I'm actually the talent acquisition coordinator here at PMG, and I've actually only been here since September 25th. So if you have any questions about your career or being a new starter at PMG, I'm happy to answer those for you if you are interested. Just kind of coming up here and being the recruitment representative tonight. We do have a couple of roles open, actually about 10 roles from software engineering, analytic roles. I know we even have a product principal role open right now. I work very closely with Janie, who is in Chicago. She's our data and technology recruiter. So if you are interested in any roles that we might have open on the data and tech side, please feel free to talk to me tonight. You can also reach out to Marissa, who's here tonight, who is our campus recruiter, our lead campus recruiter, and Jess back there, who is our early career lead. Both of them will be very knowledgeable about PMG and different roles that we have open right now, as well as me. If you have any questions about PMG, our experience here, please feel free to reach out to us or find us tonight. If you're interested in any of our roles or are interested in talking to Janie, please talk to me. I speak with her every day and work very closely with her. Again, thank you all for coming out tonight, and find us in the crowd in the room tonight. Thank you.
All right. And one last message here before we can all get up and exercise our legs a little bit. Vlad's going to close us out with another just very short message here. Vlad?
Someone asked earlier about our secret sauce, why we are so good in what we are doing. And the secret sauce is super simple. Have the best technology in the world and have the best people in the world. And if you think about how do you become the best, it's very hard for our brains to be creative. Every time you want to invent something, you need to spend energy. And brain doesn't have unlimited energy. So over time, our brains become mirrors. We mirror people who are around us. We look at their behavior and start repeating what they're doing, because it's more simple for our brains to copy. Yes, of course, sometimes we are creative. Sometimes we do something that we never did before, and this is the time when others are going to mirror us. But most of the time, we just mirror others. We mirror those people who are around us. And we don't really have a lot of freedom if you think about it, because everything depends on the environment where we put ourselves, because we mirror those people who are around us. The only choice, maybe not the only, but the most important choice that we have in our lives is to choose whom to mirror, in which environment we want to go to, which environment we want to be a part of. And trust me, this is one of the best teams where you can go and mirror the best of the best and become the best of the best. Help those people who are around you to become even better. So please chat to our team members, learn about our open positions, let your friends know about our open positions, because this is really amazing team. Thank you for coming.
That's it, it's over. No, feel free, grab a drink, grab a bite. We've concluded here, so just meet your neighbor, shake a hand, and get to know everybody here.